Hey, what's up, everybody? Jabin here, and welcome to the Jabin Chavez Leadership Podcast. I'm so honored that you're taking some time to grow and to learn and to get better. Whether you're a leader in the church or a leader in business, it is my hope and it is my prayer that this podcast will help you and encourage you, strengthen you. It's absolutely something that I would hope you can show to your teams, share with your teams, show it at a leadership meeting or at a staff meeting, whatever. And I'm just hoping that this can be a resource to you. I want to encourage you to like and to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to rate it on podcast channels. All that kind of stuff will really help us with the algorithm. And we're just trying to get this out to more people so we can help more people serve more people. I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to our sponsor, Launch Sunday, launchsunday.com, an incredible organization, an incredible company that helps us with all of our printing, all of our signage. If you want to put a logo, a phrase, a whatever on basically anything, Launch Sunday can help you. They can get you tents, they can get you mugs, they can get you scuba walls for your children's ministry, whatever you need. Launch Sunday is there to help you. And again, of course, they work with churches, but they also work with organizations. Maybe you're a real estate agent and you need new signs, whatever it might be. Launch Sunday is there to help you. They're a huge help to my organization that I lead, City Light Church, and I know they're a huge help to a lot of others that maybe are watching this podcast. So huge shout out to Launch Sunday. Thank you for sponsoring this podcast. I'm excited about the content today. I believe it's going to be a blessing to you, and let's jump in. I want to talk today about big. And I was teaching some ideas this morning. I'm teaching at a leadership school, and so I was up at 5 a.m. this morning because of their time change and teaching. And I said a statement today that it just got in my spirit, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So I want to talk about big. So big is more than normal. Isn't that a crazy definition? Big is more than normal. It's more than usual. When I say that, I'm excited about the idea that even on a Sunday, it's more than people would expect, right? It's like, wow, you thought about that. Wow, the tent. Wow, the music. Wow, the sound. You know, that was something that our contractor said last week at church. Is he went, the audio. Oh my gosh, he's not a musician. He's not a singer. He just, whoa, the audio is just so good. So when I say big, don't just think like a number. Big is more than normal. It's more than usual. We've been big before we were big. We were big at Fest, right? You walked in there, and I don't know if for some of you that don't remember, but you would walk in and we curtained off and we created a lobby, right? And we had that. I actually love that sign that had all that vision stuff on it. I don't know where that went. It's probably died and gone to heaven, but had all that. It had all that verbiage on it. And then you would walk around, and then you were and it was this big LED wall, you know. It was like, oh my God, there's 100 people there. It's like, oh my God, look at this, you know. We were big before we were big. We were talking big, praying big, preaching big before we were big. Not so that we would get big, but we were more than normal. We were more than usual. It was more. It was kids ministry was better than it needed to be. It was them hanging, signs up, the signage up on the ceiling and the scuba, and it was just big. That's what I'm saying. Small is less than normal or less than usual. Is literally the definitions, which I've never known until this morning. Small is just less than normal. So when you say, man, that looks small, what you're saying is, man, that looks smaller than I would have expected it. Or have you ever maybe met someone in real life, like you've seen them on whatever, online or whatever, you go, oh my God, you're small or whatever, right? It's smaller than normal or smaller than you've thought it would be or smaller than usual. And so I want to be big. I want to have a big spirit. I want to have a big mentality. I want to have big ideas. I want to have big thinking. I want to think big. I want to be big. All right. So I think that our church will continue to grow into what its capacity is, right? For all of us parents in the room, we buy shoes for our kids that are just a little too big. Because they're a little too big today, and tomorrow you wake up and they're too small, and you go, when did you, right? So you're always buying clothes and shoes for your kids for their capacity more than just right now. I think for us, we're always growing, hopefully, into our capacity. We've always been this way. We will always be this way. We've always given big, prayed big, believed big, dreamed big. I want to continue to do that. So I just want a few things about big. Number one, you got to live big. You got to live big. Live big. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I'm going to read out of the Message. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I'm going to read 11, 12, and 13. Dear Corinthians, I can't tell you how much I long for you to enter this wide open, spacious life. Think about those 4 words. Wide open, spacious life. Wide open, spacious life. All together, here we go. Wide open, spacious life. Okay, now just think about that. Think about that being your definition for life. It's wide open and it's got room. Think that way. Don't think small, think big, wide open. Paul says, I have a desire for you to live this wide open, spacious life. But now look what he says next. We didn't fence you in. So now he's going, okay, you got this wide open, spacious life and you're fenced in. And Paul says, I didn't do that to you. Isn't it amazing that we're always looking for someone to blame? Always. Who can I blame my smallness on? As a top leader, as a one leader, I'm wondering who can I blame it on below me. As a 2 leader, the temptation is always to look up and go, who can I blame this on? It's got to be Jabin. It's got to be. I don't know why. I just think he's after me. Do you see that? Do you see how that can happen? We didn't fence you in, implying that the Corinthian church was saying, well, it's Paul. Paul's fencing me in. We didn't fence you in. The smallness you feel, okay, watch, this is so powerful. The smallness you feel comes from within you. Comes from within you. Your lives aren't small, but you're living them in a small way. Man, think about the power of what he's saying here. I'm speaking as plainly as I can with great affection. Open up your lives. So now it's your, open up the door, open up your life, open up the fence, open up the windows. You open, live openly and expansively. Okay, how does Paul tell us to live? He tells us to live openly and expansively, which means I can't live big till I live open. Did y'all catch that? I can't live the expansive life that God has for me till I live an open life. Open to growth, open to correction, open to direction, open to wisdom, open to friendships, open. I'm just open. And it is very hard for people to live a big life because people don't live an open life. They close themselves off to any influence that can help them live bigger. So what they end up doing is they end up living a small life. And again, notice who Paul says the smallness you feel comes from within you. So if I don't live open, I'm going to set the parameters of my life, and I'm going to set them small and safe, because I'm never going to push myself out of my comfort zone without the help of other people. I'm never going to, I'm telling you, I look at where I'm at now, and I look at where I started, and I'm not talking about in success or ministry. I'm talking about to live the way we live now compared to our upbringing is so radically different, and it's all based off of the influences that I've allowed to influence my life. I kept getting around bigger, and it made me bigger. Right? Okay, so my life is not small, your potential is not small, your purpose is not small, but you're living it in a small way. So do I live according to my potential and purpose, or do I live according to my comfort? Think about that. I want to live big. I want to open up my life, live openly and live expansively. Okay, what does it mean to live big? What does it mean to live expansive? It means that no one's decisions about me or opinions about me have the final say. No one's opinion of me or decisions about me have the final say. That I live, not they live, not they decide, not they say. I live openly. I live expansively. I refuse to let the smallness of others or the smallness of a last season or the smallness of my upbringing decide how big my life can be. So if I'm going to live big, here's what that means. It means I have to grow. It means I have to grow. I have to get bigger. I have to get better. I have to grow in every area of my life. Now here's how you know you're in small thinking instead of big thinking. Here's how you know you're in small living instead of big living. You always feel like there's never enough. You always feel like there's never enough. If they're blessed, that's going to take away from me. If they have a lot, that must mean there's less for me. Small thinking is there's never enough. Now, I have to remind you of Jacob, who in his earlier years, what did he do? He stole the blessing, right? Because if Esau had it, that means I didn't have it, right? Like God isn't big enough to bless me and Esau, so I'm gonna have to steal Esau's. That's small. When I talk about like a poverty mentality, that's what I'm talking about. It's just I've got to take from you because whatever you have is taking away from me. It's an orphan spirit. That's a poverty spirit. That's a small thinking that there is not enough. You always think in lack. And you got to replace that. Now, I'm not saying you can live beyond your means. I am saying though, you're not seeing people and blessed people or big people as a threat. Okay, watch this. Small thinking there is not enough. Here's the phrase that I taught on this morning that I want to get in your spirit. I don't need you to lose for me to win. I don't need you to lose for me to win. I don't need you. We can both win because God's that big. You can win and I can win, and I don't care if you win because you're not my enemy. I have one enemy. His name is the devil. He's already lost. So you can win and I can win, and we can all win. And you're going to have to trust that, and you're going to have to have peace with that. And you're going to have to let that go. So I don't look at any one of you winning and go, man, they're winning. That must be taking away from me. No. No one who wins around this circle is affecting anyone else's ability to win. I don't need you to lose. for me to win. So I'm getting bigger. That's a big mentality. That's a big way of thinking. That's a big thought process. That's an abundance mentality, right? So Jacob starts by stealing. How does he end his life? Hebrews 11. He ends his life by blessing each one of his sons, all 12, right? He starts by stealing blessing. He ends by giving blessing. He starts his life as a taker. He ends his life as a giver. He starts his life as the Bible calls him a deceiver or a heel grabber, right? He's trying to steal. He ends his life by blessing each one of his sons. He starts his life by pulling on the foot of his brother. He ends his life by putting his hands on each one of his sons. So, which means you can grow in this. You don't have to stay Jacob. You can become Israel. 2 Corinthians 10:15. 2 Corinthians 10:15. I pray that your faith will grow. I pray that your faith will grow. What a great prayer right there. God, grow my faith, right? I pray that your faith will grow. Here's why. Not so you could say I have more faith. Not so you could say I have a lot of faith. Not so you could say, yeah, I have more faith than you. So that the boundaries of our work will be extended. I need my faith to grow so my boundaries can grow. Okay. What that means to me, this word boundary right there is a Greek word called metron. It's where we get like meter or the ability to measure. So Paul says, I want your meter to grow or your measurement to grow or your boundary to grow. What he's saying is, I want you to live at the fullness of what you can have. Right? So what can this cup? This is a venti, so it's 20 ounces. Is that right? So I don't want to live at 17 ounces. I don't want to live at 12 ounces. I can't live at 21 ounces. Can't. I can live at 20. So I want my faith to grow so that I have the fullness of whatever capacity God's given me. Some of us will be small cups, grande cups, venti cups, and there'll be a couple of Trentas in every generation. But the point is that whatever boundary God gives you, you live that at the fullest. But my faith has to grow so that I'm not living a grande life in a Trenta cup. I hate that I'm using all these Starbucks illustrations. I'm trying to get off of it. I'm like, get away from me. But I'm trying to live that Stanley life. Amen. I'm trying to live that big life. I'm not trying to. Okay, so man, this chair is absolutely, Nikki, you're getting a raise just for having to sit in this chair. We're going to get you a new chair. Okay. So I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. I want to live a big life, right? I'm not saying you can't fight for your life. You can't believe big and demand big. And I'm not saying any of that. But I am saying that I've got to be bigger on the inside than I am on the outside. Right? I got to be a big person. I got to have a big spirit. I got to have a big attitude and a big outlook. So I have to live big. Number 2, I have to dream big. I have to dream big. Dreams happen in the hope realm. Dreams happen in the hope realm. Romans 15 says that our God is the God of hope. You start to get a picture of a desired outcome. That's a dream. Hebrews 9 says that hope is the anchor to my soul. Hope is the anchor to my soul. So hope is my anchor. The God of hope is my God. And now the within the hope space, the hope realm, I start to have a dream. I start to have a picture. Hope is an expectation of a better day. That's what hope is. It's an expectation of a better day. We obviously have a hope of heaven, but we also have hopes on the earth. You know, I was so shaken this week. We had a funeral, and you would look at the faces of Christians in the room, and there was joy, and there was tears, but joy. There was grief, but there was joy. There was sadness, but there was this wild, as the old song said, blessed assurance that we're going to see her again, right? And then you would look at the faces of unbelievers, and it was just death. Because for them, that was it. For them, it was 65 years with this person, and it's over. And yet you looked at the husband of the woman who gone on to heaven, and he's smiling, and he's remembering her, and he's saying, I'm going to see her again. And that's hope, right? So we have the hope of heaven. Doesn't make death easier, but it is a reality. We frame the pain of death within the hope of eternity. And if you don't know Jesus, you don't have that. So you got what you got. And I think every unbeliever sitting in that room going, I'm next. Can't believe it. It's going to happen to me too. And it is. But not only do we have hope for eternity, we have hope on earth. And that's where we dream from. We dream of a better tomorrow. We dream of a better expectation and a better future for our family than even we had. And so you have to dream big. And you have to have dreams, and you need to write dreams down, and you got to fight for dreams, and you got to work for dreams, and you got to make sure you're going in the direction of your dreams, whatever those are. You need to be able to process those dreams, believe for those dreams, write those dreams down. There should be some things in your life that you are expecting. So like for me, I'm very content. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful for all that God's doing in my life, but I also have some dreams, right? I have some things that I want to do. I'm writing a book. That's a dream. It's in my heart. And we got the idea finally after a lot of trial and error. We got the idea. The book's being done. That's a dream. It's not so I could say I'm an author. It's not so I see my book at Target. That's not what it's about. It's about hopefully helping people with what God's put on my life. That's a part of my dream where I'm not self-publishing it. I'm publishing it with a publisher, not because I would make a lot more money if I just self-published and we just sold it. But it's actually not for the money. It's actually to try to help more people. So I'm trying to get it out further. But that's it's a dream. It's something that I should do, need to do, want to do. What are those things in your heart that when you look into your future, you go, I should do that. I want to do that. And even some things that are like, I need to do. I need to do. You should think about that. You should think about those kind of like bigger than you've ever seen in past generations. Dream big. Number 4, you got to pray big. Got to pray big. If you're gonna be big and dream big, you got to pray big. Here's a thought. This is crazy. This is deep. I hope you're ready. Pray like God will answer. Imagine? Can you even imagine? Pray like God could actually answer your prayer. Pray bold. Pray for things that will require God. Lord, just bless today. You don't even know if that happened. We end up praying prayers that He's already answered. Be with us today, Lord. He's like, I'm not leaving. I said I won't leave you. We're good. We're good on that. Just bless today. He's like, you're blessed. Yep, you are blessed. Just help today, Lord. Yep, I'm going to help. That's what I do. Pray prayers that like you pray them, and if God answers them, you go, that was God, because that wouldn't happen. So I'm praying crazy prayers for our church, for our life, for just like if God does it, He does it. But pray like God will answer. Faith is praying in faith is praying like God will answer. Praying in faith is praying like God will answer. Pray bold. Pray bold prayers. Pray prayers that you wouldn't want other people to hear. That you would be embarrassed if people heard you pray that. Think about that for a second. They're that radical. Pray big. You got to pray big. Call unto me, Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, and I will answer you. One of my favorite people in the world, he pastors in Mississippi. His name is Joel Sims. Pastors an incredible church. Joel's just awesome. Here's what you get when you get around Joel. You know, I was praying, and the Lord said. You know, I was in prayer the other day, and the Lord said. You know, I was out on my porch praying in the Spirit, and the Lord said. And he's not a weirdo. He's the sharpest, smartest, one of the smartest men I've ever met. You know, I was just in the car praying, and the Lord said. You know, me and Pepe were praying the other day, and the Lord's, and it is like, dear God, and it's all true. It's all real. He has learned this conversation of prayer. I want to be more like Joel. I want to believe that Jeremiah 33 is actually real, that I can call unto God and he will answer me and he will show me great and mighty things that I do not know. That's what Joel lives, the Jeremiah 33:3 principle. And I want to do more of that. I was in prayer, and I was in prayer, and I got this impression. I was in prayer, and so pray like that. Prayer is the oil of your life. I don't know a lot about cars, but I know my car needs oil. Because without it, it's going to overheat, and it's going to seize up. It's going to lock up without oil. Prayer is the oil. Prayer is the grace. 2 Corinthians 12. I asked God, take it away. And God said, my grace is sufficient. In prayer, God did not answer Paul like he wanted to be answered, but he gave him grace. Prayer gives you grace. Prayer is the grace of your life. Prayer makes hard things easy. Prayer makes hard things easy, or easier, or possible. However you want to say that, you couldn't do it without prayer. All right, here's a phrase that I want you to hear that you might not believe, but it's true anyway. So deal with it. Do not expect to enjoy your calling without prayer. How do you know? Because I've seen too many of my friends fall from ministry, walking in their calling, and their calling did not satisfy them. Because they lost their relationship with Jesus. So it's the prayer that makes me enjoy my calling. It's the prayer that makes me enjoy the ministry. It's my walk with God. I'm talking about every friend that I have that's fallen, that had a bigger church than me, more money than me, more opportunity than me, and none of that satisfied them. Everything they prayed for in their 20s, they lost in their 40s. Think about it. We don't have to name names. We all know the names. And we all love them. And we all pray God's best for their next season. But if any of those guys don't fix the prayer thing, they're just going to repeat it again. Or they're currently repeating it. We just don't know it. Because prayer is the only thing that will help you to enjoy your calling. Prayer makes calling possible. Because without prayer, your calling will only last so long. It is your prayer life that sustains the calling. Okay, and why do they fall? They don't fall because they're terrible people. They fall because the calling is too heavy without prayer. If I don't put oil in my car, it's not the car's fault. This piece of junk. I can't believe this hunk of junk. No, it's a great car. It's not the car. It's the oil. It's not the manufacturer, it's me. I didn't put the oil in. And when you don't put the oil, you go, man, ministry's hard, man, ministry. It's really not, but it does take oil. Ministry's not that hard, but it does take oil. Right? That's why you have to go into Sundays different. You can't treat Saturday nights like you used to treat Saturday nights. You can't. You guys go to bed at 3 a.m. and you wake up at 4 with caca in your eyes and you go, man, ministry, man. Ministry. It's not that hard. You just have to be responsible enough to go to bed, wake up, get some worship going in the car, get some prayer going in the car, get a coffee, pray in the Holy Ghost. Just get in the Spirit. You can't treat it like you used to treat it. And it's not hard. It's just but it requires oil. You know, we're talking to some people this week that, man, they feel a call to ministry, but man, they're giving up the weekends. What? I don't know. I'm not going to apologize. But yeah, we give up our weekends. We find new days to do what we do. But all that without prayer is just seems so daunting. Right? It just seems so daunting. Number 4, lastly, all these big ones, right? Here's number 4, start small. Let's remember small, less than normal. So we're all this big stuff, and now we're going to start less than normal. Okay? Here's why we don't change. Are you ready? Hope we're all ready. We don't change because it doesn't happen quick enough. We don't change because we want grand changes quickly. That's why we don't change. How many young men in the last 4 years have lost probably billions combined on crypto in the last 4 years that don't have a dollar in an IRA, who don't have a dollar in a 401k, who don't have a dollar in savings? Why? Because I'm going to hit SHIB just right. I'm going to hit whatever just right. I'm going to hit Bitcoin, and I'm not against cryptocurrency. I have money in cryptocurrency, but it's the thought. I'm going to time it. They don't even know how to define what a Bitcoin is. They have no idea what the blockchain is, which is a rule for investing, by the way. You never invest in something you don't understand. Amen. Praise the Lord. There's grace. The Lord's going to make it up to you, Omar. The point is, I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. It's so no one just has some money in the S&P 500, right? It's how many guys went and got an app and threw in every last dollar they had, and it's gone, and now it's coming back up, but they sold because they were emotional, and we don't end up changing, and we don't change because it didn't happen fast enough. We don't live the big life because the big life takes time. We don't live the big life because the big life takes time. Exodus 23:30, little by little, I will drive them out before you. How does God deal with our enemies? Little by little. Until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. So God's driving them out little by little while I'm growing. And if God's driving them out little by little, how am I growing? Little by little. Now, again, I've preached this text a lot, but just a quick reminder. Right before God says little by little, he talks the most God swag ever. He's like, you're going in and I'm sending my angel. It's like, oh, let's go. And then he says, and I'm sending terror before you. I don't even know what that means. I don't know if that's an angel. I don't know know what that is. But God's like, I'm sending terror before you. They're like, let's go, turn up. And then I love this. He says, I'm going to send hornets before you. The first murder hornets ever. Another shout out to the pandemic. Murder hornets before you. And they're like, let's go take the land. And I'm going to do it little by little. Say, what? What about murder hornets, Lord? Little by little. A couple of hornets every once in a while. What about my angel? Little by little. What about terror? Little by little. So it's going to happen, but it's going to happen little by little. I got to start small. So I'm refusing the big break mentality, the viral mentality, the lotto mentality. If any of those things happen, cool. Don't need it to happen because it's going to happen either way because I'm growing and because God's doing it for me and because I'm increasing. I'm getting bigger. I'm getting bigger in small increments. I'm getting bigger in small increments. Lastly, Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in well-doing. Don't grow weary in well-doing. Why in the world would I get tired doing the right thing? For in due season you will reap a harvest if you faint not. Which means I can be doing the right thing and be tired and be discouraged and be frustrated. Now watch that, because here's what I preached for forever, right? I got this revelation this morning. Forever I have preached, you reap if you sow. Right? I mean, I think that's been a pretty Jabin thing. People leave our church every week because he preaches the prosperity gospel, right? Whatever people say about me that's not true. I can't believe he just said, if you sow, you'll reap. I cannot believe he said that, right? So it's like, it's a part of my thing. It's a part of my shtick now. I didn't mean to offend anybody by quoting the Bible, but there's a principle that Paul said that I've missed. Do not grow weary in well-doing. This is Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in well-doing. For in due season you will reap if, not if you sow, if you faint not. So I'm disagreeing with myself a little bit. Here we go, which is a part of pastoring. You learn things. You do reap if you sow. But some people don't reap because they quit. You will reap if you do not faint, if you faint not. Right? So you can't tonight go to Lowe's, grab some tomato seeds, put them in the ground, pour the water, wake up in the morning and they're not there. And you go, that didn't work. And you mess with the soil and you uproot the soil and you throw away the soil. And you go, there. God said I'd reap if I sowed, but I didn't reap. No. You fainted. You didn't faint not. You didn't last longer. So, okay, your discouragement has to grow slower than the seed. Because it's going to happen a little bit. But the discouragement has to grow slower than the plant's growing. So, I've always felt City Light was growing slower than I thought it would grow. But I never let the discouragement grow faster in my heart than what God was doing. Now, I'm not talking about like, oh my God, this is terrible. I've always been very content. But you know what I'm saying? I've always known, like, I've never cursed this building one time. You've never heard me one time say, we need a building, in the sense of like, God, this building. But I always knew this building was limiting us. I knew it was, right? Because you just drive up and you go, we're at a liquor store. Okay. Right? Like I just knew it limited us. And so I had to make sure that what God was doing was more prevalent in my heart than the limitations that I knew were happening. So I knew going into that high school, I knew we were going to grow. I just knew we were going to grow. Right? So I had to do that. Now I know we're going to have, and now we're in a weird big growth spurt. And then I know we're going to have another one in the building. And so I've had to, in my own life, all through the years, make sure that what God is growing is faster than the possibility of discouragement, or I'll faint not, and then I won't be able to see the harvest. So, and you always have to fight that. So some of you are like, well, man, I've sown, man, I've tried, man, I've served, but you faint not, and so you never see the harvest, and then you just rob yourself. You dug up the seed, and you just can't allow it. And I don't think that's like a daily battle, but I think it's probably a seasonal battle that everyone will have to fight at some point in their life a few times, where you're sowing more than you're reaping. right? And you're like, where's the freaking harvest? And then other seasons feel like, oh my God, the scripture says the plowman will overtake the reaper, or the reaper will overtake the plowman, or, well, it's somewhere in the Old Testament. It's one of those random Jensen verses. That's what I call them. But basically, there's going to be so much harvest, it's going to overtake the farmer. And sometimes it feels like that. It's like, oh man, there's harvest. Man, God's doing something. Okay, so there's going to be both seasons, and what you can't do is let the discouragement win in those seasons. So you live big, you dream big, you pray big, start small. And you're always a little smaller. Hopefully, this is where you want to be. You're a little smaller than your capacity, and you're constantly growing, right? I'm going to preach about it Sunday. When he knew that he had all authority, John 13, when he knew he had all authority, what did he do? He washed the feet of the disciples. Because hopefully your capacity is bigger than your opportunity. You don't want your opportunity to be bigger than your capacity. You'll get crushed. But if you're bigger than your opportunity, you'll always live out of the overflow. And so Jesus didn't say, man, I have all authority. Everyone bow down and worship me. Nope. He bowed down and washed the feet. And that's the starting small of living big. He was smaller than his capacity and growing into that until Philippians 2, at the right hand, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. Amen. Amen.